Well, the formula that you're given is that your z value is x minus x bar. Wherever x is, you subtract that x, you subtract the mean value from that x, and that tells you, well, what's that tell you? X minus x bar is just, well, if your x is out here, if you subtract x bar, you'd be subtracting 78 from whatever your x value is out here. And then you divide that by your standard deviation, you get your z, okay? I think it's easier to think of this than it is to do the formal formula and try to do the algebra involved. Okay, so if we know we can solve this equation for x. Multiply both sides by sigma and add x bar. You get x equals x bar plus sigma z. Now, many people can't solve that formula for x. So in the first place, you're already in trouble if you don't understand this picture, unless you can do the algebra. And many people can, but many people have trouble with algebra. So in order to use the formula, z equals x minus x bar over the standard deviation, you have to be able to solve that formula for x. If you do, then knowing from the table that z is, let's say, 2.9, you can plug in z equals 2.9 and the standard deviation here, and you would get, and I'm going to bring this way down here, you get x equals x bar plus standard deviation times z. That's going to be 78 plus 3 inches times 2.91. Okay, so if you got the formula, you can solve it for x, then you can plug in your standard deviation in your z and do this calculation, and you're going to get identically the same thing that we got here, 86.7 inches. Seems like I wrote down 2.91 here for some reason, and there's no good reason to do that. Except I got used to writing the 8 for the 2.81, and that just kind of, and this is then going to equal the same thing we got, 86.7 inches. Okay, so that's how you could use the formula. But using the formula requires algebra. It doesn't really invoke the kind of understanding you get with a good picture. So again, I recommend a good picture. But I also recommend that, especially if you can do the algebra, that you know the formula and that you can do this. Because that way you can check your understanding of the picture. And if you don't get the same thing, then you know one or the other is wrong, and you can probably figure out where you went wrong and reconcile the two approaches and get an answer that you can have a lot of confidence in.